Rangers are the lifeblood of American freedom, serving in some of the harshest situations to secure that freedom across the globe. This is the Lounge with Legend show, celebrating their transformation from battlefield to business. The Lounge with Legend show with Marty the Moac Martinez and James A. Phelps, a.k.a. Spartan 6.
There we are. Caught you.
Finally did it right.
Episode 21.
It only took you 21 times, but you got it right.
I'm a slow learner. They call me Strong Ranger for a reason. All right, this is episode 21, the one with the Airborne Ranger, Sergeant Major retired Mike T. Hall. I've been looking forward to this episode, brother. James was laughing at me before this because I'm actually nervous, and I don't get nervous.
You know, talking about Nick Bear's book, in there he talks about he wants to be like the Ranger with the, cold side of the pillow. We're just calm, smooth, and collective. It's been amazing to watch Marty for the first time be nervous. It's great because it makes him human. I was like, the Moac is human. I can't believe it. But, that just shows what kind of respect, the deep respect that you have for Sergeant Major. So I'm trying to break that habit of calling people, Sergeant Major, but it happens. So I apologize now.
I'm telling you, it's, I've been in the military. I'm retired now, but served a while. And I've got a few leaders that I grew up admiring right off the bat. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're not even recapping what happened last week. That's how excited I am. Crazy. But, Sergeant Major Hall, Sergeant Major Bond, and it just happens to be, it was the exact same unit. It was my platoon sergeant and my first sergeant. Sergeant Major Hall was my first sergeant at the time, and Sergeant Major Bond was my platoon sergeant. And those are the kind of guys that I grew up with. And so it was amazing. And in fact, he's coming on the show, and we're going to have that story, but just crazy that the impact that he has and what he's done. It's crazy. But before we get to that, what's been happening, brother? What happened last week?
Well, I think we just got back from DC. You and I had an event, Veterans Grow America, in DC last Wednesday, which was amazing. With Burbiz. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Burbiz. But when we had Sergeant Major retired Donnell Johns on the show on that same day.
And then right after that, we scooted over to the MGM National Harbor and met with Donnell. And we met with Scott Davidson, who was the previous legend in the lounge. We had Colonel retired. We met with Colonel retired Gregory Gadsden. Amazing. He was, I think, the first double amputee to be in command. He was garrison commander here at Fort Belvoir. Got to talk to him. Met with just a whole bunch of people. It was such an amazing event. If you guys have an opportunity, find a way to get to a Burbiz event. The next Burbiz event is going to be in January in Las Vegas. Highly recommend it. There are some great Americans out there. Mike Quinn, Sergeant Major retired Mike Quinn was there with Higher Military. always good to catch up with him. He's coming in the lounge. We're just going to have to figure out when we can get him in, but he's going to come in the lounge.
Well, you had me at Vegas. I've already got my jacket ready for Vegas.
I can see that.
Hey, you know what they say? Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you, but you always got to dress for the hunt.
I don't know. Yeah, it looked like the bear got you on this one. I'm expecting you to sing Dankeschön.
It's made in Korea. We're good to hook.
North or south?
South, Airborne.
But it was a great event. I highly recommend you check it out. And a lot of thanks to those people out there, Black Rifle Coffee Company, Scott Davidson and GCO over there. And just a lot of great sponsors for those events to support veterans.
And that's the key,
Herb Thompson
right?
was there. I got his book. And he even autographed it for me.
That's another one. You're up your game. I'm waiting for Matt next week though, so we can get this autographed.
Right. Matt Eversman's coming on. Ranger Eversman. He's coming on. Looking forward to that. Can talk about his book.
Absolutely.
But this is
going to be epic, man. You are nervous, and I love to see you this way. And this is finally, I used to say that, Marty said, how important the foundation is and the leadership that is provided. For the longest time, I thought it was just my mentorship and my leadership when he was a young second lieutenant. But then I found out he was an old second lieutenant. Anyway, it's so important to get that foundation. It just, the amount of respect that you have for the leadership that you had it's unreal and amazing. And the best thing is you're still doing that. You're still leading with value. You're still Rangers, right? A lot of people think, once we get out, we're no longer in service. And no, I think this is when the service starts. Once your retirement starts, it's still continue mission.
Well, it's like when you graduate Ranger School. At my Ranger School graduation, they said that today's the hardest day. It wasn't Ranger School. It was when you actually got the tab and you have to earn that tab each and every day. And it's living the Ranger Creed. And I think that's what they talk about each and every day here with, living the Ranger Creed with Three Rangers Foundation. So it's amazing. But before we do that, real quick, where are we going to be this weekend?
I think we're going to Charleston, South Carolina.
Joint base Charleston with Donnell and Veterans Grow America. Mm-hmm. We'll be broadcasting live. We're going to be interviewing the veteran entrepreneurs down there. Come by the booth, support Veteran Grows America. I know that the popcorn guy is going to be there. It's never good for me. I eat way too much popcorn, but he's got a lot of great vendors that are going to be down there on this Saturday. If you're in the area, Joint Base Charleston, Lounge with Legends will be there. Donnell Johns will be there. It's going to be a lot of great vendors. We're going to be taking pictures and doing videos, live streaming, and it's going to be a great event. So. I've already kind of goofed it up a bit. We've been talking about him since he came on, but that's who we have right there. The man, the myth, the legend, Sergeant Major Mike T. Hall. Are we ready to bring him in the lounge?
Absolutely. Got to get him in here now.
Let's do it.
He did it.
We got no control of that, right, James?
Man, I still like picking on you.
But welcome to the lounge, Sergeant Major. And
I got a question before we get started. I remember when I was a young guy, we had to go to something, and we needed like a suit and a tie, and we didn't none of us had suits and ties. And so my buddy Mike was from New York, and he goes, "I got an idea. We'll just go down to the Goodwill. We'll buy some jackets. We'll wear them to the event. And then when we're done, we'll take them back and sell it to them." You know what? And the jackets you two have on, they look very, very similar. Is that where you get yours?
Absolutely.
I was trying to keep that a secret, Sergeant Major, but yes.
Make sure, Goodwill is a good organization. You want to make money off of them. So, wherever you paid for the jacket, when you give it back to them, just take the same amount. Don't make a profit. You're good.
It's called bootstrapping. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep costs low, low overhead.
Oh, well, the good thing is, though, I was able to shop in the men's section, whereas some people that with their jackets was maybe possibly in the boys section.
All right, so it begins.
I got to do this while I can because normally I'm on the back end of those. So I got the Trump card here today. So this is going to be a fun episode.
So those of y'all that are watching,
I learned in boxing that never let your opponent get the first shot. So I had to start off.
Yeah, it those of y'all that are watching, it started before this. In the green room, Sergeant Major was saying he didn't even like the countdown timer. He said it should be jump commands, and so he was already AAR in the show before it even began. So true story. But we are so excited to have you here, and thanks for coming into the lounge and everything you've done and continue to do, Sergeant Major.
Thanks for what you're all doing. I've been following you all for a while and know what you're trying to achieve and what you're doing now. I'm quite envious of the impact that y'all are making. So thank you very much.
We appreciate that. Let me take down the Footies logo and just put, since we have a true American hero in here.
That's pretty neat. I'm going to look into that. I saw a commercial. That's pretty neat. I like that. Yeah.
That's our other company we have. So we own Footies, James and I. That's our company. So
yeah, I knew that, but I just never really, quite honestly, didn't look into it. And I saw the commercial. I thought that is pretty neat. And
yeah, we tell people it gives you freedom from foot coffins. So especially when you're on the boat deck and your kids are out there on the pool decks and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So Sergeant Major, let's get into this. So you've served our great nation for 3 decades, but what was your initial call to serve?
I don't know. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, just west of Cleveland. And I always thought I was going to be a professional baseball player until I realized that I really wasn't good enough to do that. And so I think back then, and my background, I grew up in a broken home. My dad left when I was 2 or 3. Had a couple stepdaddies who were not very, very virtuous men, but I had some great uncles that I could look up to. Of course, they had their own families and their own things to do, but you sort of grew up in that part of the country around that time, and the spirit of the country that you read about now. After Vietnam, probably hadn't caught up to Northeast Ohio yet, and was still very patriotic. And that's what a lot of guys did. I mean, you graduated high school, you went in the service. You didn't go in the Army, you didn't go in the Navy. You went in the service. It's a word that I think that we're losing track of. And you did your 2 or 3 years, and you came back out, and you maybe went to college, but not necessarily, because you didn't need to really to have. This is United States Steel, Ford Motor Company, General Motors. All the big industries in the Northeast at the time. And you came back and you went to work for one of those organizations, and you had a pretty good life. Right. And but you went in and you did your time, you did your service to your nation, and whether there's a war going on or not, you went in to serve, and I think that's sort of what I did. Looking at the example of my uncles and the people around me, and everybody that you ran into, you knew that it was that generation. They had gone and served, and there was something different about them. You could always tell that they were more mature. They looked at life differently. There was life beyond. Life didn't revolve around what went on in high school. They had seen different things and understood there's more important things in life. So that's probably, I guess that's why I joined. I don't have any other explanation other than that. It was a thing to do. I wasn't going to college. I wasn't good enough in sports to get a scholarship. I might have been smart enough, but I certainly didn't apply it in high school. So there's certainly no academic scholarships coming from that. And even the couple half scholarships I had to play sports. There wasn't. I grew up on welfare. There wasn't money to even go there on a half scholarship. Couldn't really afford that. So I just went into service and I went in for 3 years and got out 34 years later.
Right. Yeah.
No, definitely don't ask me what time it is, because I'm probably not a good idea to tell you how to keep time. So yeah, that's why I went in and I got into the 1st Ranger Battalion and really enjoyed what I was doing and met people that I really enjoyed working with and being with and being around. And one thing, I just kept re-enlisting. I was never a career soldier. I remember one day I was driving home from work and I looked at my leave and earnings statement up in the upper right-hand corner. It had years of service. And I happened to glance at it. You know, you don't pay attention to what you get. I mean, the Army puts money in the bank, you know, every 2 weeks. And you don't pay no attention to it because you know they wouldn't screw up your pay. And, you know, one day I looked and it said years of service, 20 years. And I pulled off the side of the road and I go, how did that happen? And it's a true story. I mean, how did that happen? I just enjoyed it. My family understood what I was doing. They were supportive. It was a way to take care of my family. So, yeah, and then I just kept going because I found, you know, that I kept finding worthwhile positions where I could help people and make people and organizations better. And so I just kept doing it until there wasn't any more jobs left out there that I really wanted to do. And I said, I guess it's time to transition out of the Army. So I won't take much more time, but that's sort of my story. We can dig into anything you want because it's your show.
No, that's a great story because it's it showed that how you led with value, you led with about people, and it was the fact that you didn't realize how it went by in an instant, in a flash. And you know, there's a lot of people where the Army, the military isn't for them, and those people come and go, and we say thank you for your service, and okay. But there's some people where it is, and you just get it because you understand what it is and what it's about. And so, and I think that came through for me at least in your leadership style. I just remember still you just walking through, and you knew everybody, and you knew about us and our stories. And here I was I was an E2 at the time, and First Sergeant comes up and he knew who I was, which was either a bad thing or a good thing. This time it was a good thing because he knew who I was.
This time there were bad times.
It's one of the times I didn't dork up, but you know, first sergeant at the time comes over and was just asking me about how are things, how was life, and what was going on, and I was like, oh, good, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh my gosh, but that meant so much to me because I was like, here's the first sergeant, you know, I'm an E2 at the time, and I'm like, and he knows who I am. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you know. And this is, you know, when I mean, you got to understand it as a private, you think that the company command team are like bigger than life at the time, you know. And so it was amazing. So that's what made an impact to me, and I tried to emulate that when I eventually became a company commander, and when I moved up in the ranks of, it's all about people, you know. And so I thank you for that, Sir Major, for setting that example.
Welcome.
Yeah, because without that example, Marty wouldn't be the person he is today. That's the key that that's the thing that we, got to remember. The foundation was set there. Without that foundation, Marty doesn't become who he is today. So, I mean, that in itself is amazing. Just the legendary, just the legacy that you established there with, and Marty's just one of many that you've had the same impact on. So It's just, that's why it's a respect thing. And, you talked about going in and just wanting to do your initial term of service. I think we all go in with expectations in the beginning. And then what happens is either they come to pan out, or they, you realize later on that you look back and you say, man, that was a great ride. Is there any advice that you would give a new soldier, new recruit, new person that's going in for service? Is there anything that you could prepare them for that you would recommend today in today's times going in?
Yeah. It's funny, every generation looks back and say, how do they even get in? How can they get in this organization? No, they're not as good as us. They're not physically fit. They're not as smart. They're not as committed. They do this and that, but the older you get, you look back and you go, no, they actually are better than us. And, I used to tell people, especially after I made, Sergeant Major, I said, boy, it's a good thing I made Sergeant Major now, because if I'd come in, with this, new group of soldiers that had just come into service, there's no way I ever would have got promoted to the rank I am, because they are smarter, they are better. But the Army's been around for a long time, and some people say the Army is slow to change. Looking back, I don't think that's true at all. The Army is very quick to adapt, and to adapt to the culture. I mean, the Army is society. You know, it's not a part of society. It's really all of society. It's a culmination of all that. And you know what new soldiers understand is the Army's been around for over 200 years, so it must be doing something right. And the Army has two types of leaders. They have good leaders and they have better leaders. There's really no bad leaders, because there are so many checks and balances that they eventually get caught. So, I think, all of us, James and Marty, we all sort of learned, we came in and we go, why are we doing this? Why is this guy doing this to me? Why is he making me do this? This is sort of stupid. This is sophomore. And some of it you can say, yeah, it was. It's like, Marty, when you said I came and talked to you and I knew you and I want to know a little bit about you and how things were going. And you're probably thinking, boy, is this a time to tell them about the Spec 4 Mafia? And you're probably thinking, no, that's probably not a good idea.
Exactly.
And, but you look back and of course things could have been done better, but, would have you wanted any different? The answer is no, because it shaped you into such a, it taught you good things, it taught you bad things, but it made you the leader that you were one way or another. And you sort of look back and say, it's not written down in a manual. It's really nowhere, but you look back and, the system of the services just makes you a better person. No matter whether you had a good leader or a better leader, it shaped you in such a way that made you the person that you are today and the values that you have. And, so, you got to trust in the system. And, if you don't understand some things, sometimes you just need to sit back and say, one day, I think I'm going to figure it out because this organization's been around for a long time. And there must be some method to this madness, although, execution is sometimes done better by some folks than others. But I know I made a lot of mistakes and I did some things and said some things that I look back and say, oh boy, that was probably really cruel. And, I didn't understand it at the time, how cruel it was. I thought I was making people better, but looking back, I thought, okay, this is how I probably I should have done it. I talk a lot about leadership and when I do talk about it, I usually like to preface everything I say is, I'm going to tell you these stories, and a lot of them are stories, but they're not necessarily how I did things. They're how I wished I had done things. Because you never learn no matter what you're doing, you never learn your job until after you leave it. Then you look back and you say, usually really subconsciously, this is how I wished I would have done things. And sometimes the older you get, you turn that into, yeah, that's the way I really was. But in reality, of course, you weren't. And you make mistakes and you talk to people, and then sometimes it'll come back and they'll say, some incident will come up and they'll tell you about this, and they sort of laugh about it now, but you tell them, they're only telling you the story because, at the time it wasn't funny, and it was, poor leadership execution on my part. Again, they learned from it, but, unfortunately they had to, took a little bit harder way to learn from it.
Right.
I said, trust the system, because people do care, and, not everybody's the best leader, but they are trying to do the right thing. And, sometimes they go about it the wrong way. But boy, you got to look back and the service never made I don't think the service made anybody worse. It made them better. If they came back and, if they got out of the service and they became an axe murderer, they were going to be an axe murderer before they came in the service, but, because of the service, it was either delayed or it wasn't as bad as it could have been because there was something holding them back. And, leaders get disappointed when people do dumb things and yeah, you are responsible for them, but, you sort of got to realize too, people come into service, they're 18, 19 years old or 22 years old or whatever they are, but, their ethics, their mores, the way they were raised, that's ingrained in them. You can't change people. You put them in an environment and you change how they act, and you hope that some of that, eventually wears off, after they come out of that environment. So it's one of the things that the service does really well.
Right. Now, I'll say that I'm getting feedback there, but I'd say that I think that I agree that the moral compass is already set. And I think what I learned in the service, it basically helped narrow, tighten my shot group, if you will, of where I was going, whether it was my time at Cole Range or my time, in Ranger Battalion or wherever I was. It helped tighten that shot group, tighten my azimuth wherever I was going. I was already on that trajectory.
Yeah.
So I think I would absolutely agree on that.
It makes good people great. It makes mediocre people good. It doesn't make mediocre or good people bad. There's always some kind of, we all learn, whatever it is, whatever organization, leave the organization better than you found it. And that's what the service does. It's going to leave, whether you're in for, even if you don't even make it out of basic training or boot camp, you're going to come out there's a lesson learned there. It's going to make you a better person. It's going to pay off sometime down the road, no matter what you think your experience is. Somehow it's going to shape you because you've been in a different environment, and you've learned a little bit more about what's right and what's wrong and why it's important to do the right thing.
Right. So I had mentioned earlier about how, my interaction with you kind of set the stage on what I wanted to be and how I wanted my interactions, though I didn't know it at the time because I was 19 years old and an E2, but I would reflect upon that as I became a company grade officer and eventually a field grade officer. Who was that for you? Who was your Mike T. Hall when you were growing up?
There was two guys. There was my first sergeant, guy named Mike Brooks. You talked about how I made an emphasis to know people, and I learned that subconsciously at first because of the reception and integration that I got when I first got to A Company 1st Ranger Battalion with Mike Brooks, and how he brought me in and how he treated me. The reception and integration that I got from him and the other members of my squad, that's what shaped me and taught me the importance of understanding, knowing something about people and what an impact they had on you. And we don't have a whole lot of time here to tell you, just the things he did that showed me. I was like surprised. How the heck did he know that? How did he know that? How did you know that? But it meant so much to me that he knew that. And, subconsciously, it wasn't something I sat down and said, oh, I'm going to pretend to know something about people because that's a good leadership technique. It just shaped me. So early on, my first permanent duty station, as we used to call it back then, when I got to A Company 175 was Mike Brooks. So he told you what was right. He told you what was expected. But he cared about you, and he, even though discipline was expected and enforced, and but you still know he cared, and that's why he did the things that he told you to do. But what I learned from Mike is, it's your leaders don't really tell you to do; they ask you to do stuff because the hard, you don't tell people to do the really, really hard things in life. Nobody charges a machine gun bunker because the lieutenant said charge a machine gun bunker. They do it because they have confidence that the lieutenant has taken into consideration, all the risks, and he's mitigated it, and he's given you the best chance of success. And that your buddies on your left and right are going to do the same thing because they have the same respect, for their leader. So so
right,
yeah. And and the other guy was a guy named was when I first became a platoon sergeant as a buck sergeant. There's a guy named Stanley Fox, and what's Stan taught us is he would never do anything for you. He'd make you do it. He'd make you figure it out, and not because he was lazy, because he knew that's how you learned. And that's when I really became a quote unquote professional, when I started reading manuals and reading policies and understanding why those manuals were written that way and why those policies were written that way. To be able to, instead of just telling people what to do, to give them the confidence that I knew what I was talking about when I asked them to do something. And so that's what Stan Fox taught us all was, you'd ask him about something and he knew the answer, but he'd point you in the right direction and he'd check on you and he'd make sure you come up with the right answer, but he'd make you do it. And then of course that's the harder way to do it. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but what Stan Fox realized that the most important thing the Army does is build leaders. And that doesn't mean doing it yourself, because that's the best way. It means that, the most important thing you do is to build leaders. And, Stan was willing to Toss will take the risk by you saying, you go do that and figure it out. There's a good chance you'd fail and you'd screw up, and he'd be the one that was going to be held responsible. But if that's what's taking care of your shoulders is being the one to say, yeah, he screwed up, but it's my fault because I didn't train him properly, and that's what First Sergeant Fox would do. Is he would, if something screwed up and didn't go the way it was, he took responsibility for it. He didn't throw the responsibility on you. He made sure you were retrained, but he took responsibility for it, and he was not afraid to do that. And so it's the old thing, and then as I got older, I tried to take that attitude. I used to tell people all the time when I came a sergeant major, they'd say, well, you pretty much say whatever you want to say, don't you? When people ask you, and I said, well, yeah, that's what I think I get paid for. And I said, besides, I'm an E9, I can't make E10, so I might as well say whatever I think is the right thing, because that's what I think I'm in position to do.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's old school leadership, be no do. That's what I'm thinking about the whole time you're that's just right in line with everything. Yeah.
We talk about that a lot.
James, that's exactly what be no do was. And it's unfortunate the Army sort of gotten away from that, because that probably goes back to Caesar and his legions. That goes way back, one of the fundamentals of leadership.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, be no do leadership here in the lounge and with the Joint Task Force 214, because I still think it is the basic fundamentals. And I appreciate that James brought that back to me, because I hadn't seen that since back in the days at Fort Benning when we were coming in, and it was about be no do. And then you're right, we got away from that. But let's cut to commercial and then talk about Three Rangers when we come back and what you're doing with that.
The only good thing I'm glad it's gone is the 3-finger high and tight, because I don't know if you could pull that off now, Marty.
I couldn't pull it off before, truth no lending. To all of us, and especially those of us that served. And so we ask you, what does freedom mean to you?
My chest would go out. I would get a sense of pride, because I knew that I was representing everyone that came before me.
So I guess my thing is, don't be so quick to judge people by a book by its cover.
You're watching the Lounge with Legends TV show with your hosts, Marty Martinez and James A. Phelps.
I wanted everyone to see how the bear got him with that jacket on.
There's a dragon here, so there's a little dragon here. I got to get one with a lion.
So before we were talking a lot about your leadership style and how, the impact on you. And now, Sergeant Major, I want to transition, if you're okay with that, about your new position as executive director with the Three Rangers Foundation and all the amazing stuff you're doing there to help the Rangers. Can you tell us a bit about that?
The Three Rangers Foundation was actually founded in 2014 by three Rangers. They were all stationed with B Company 375 as part of Task Force Ranger. and they got out, or when they got out, and some of them went back in. But when they got out, they wanted to form an organization that would help all vets do all things. A couple of years ago, I was looking to, get out of my civilian jobs and sort of retire. What I always wanted to do was to be able to give back. So they asked me to become the executive director, and I said, yeah, but what I want, and I was involved. I'm involved in a bunch of other nonprofits, veterans organizations. I said, but what I really like to do is really focus an organization down to a smaller group of people where you could actually see, what you were helping them with, in a very narrow mission to say, this is what we do. Because there's 48,000 veteran nonprofits out there that all do good things. But I said, so let's not do things that other people are doing. Let's do something that only we can do, that we can make an impact. And, the basic mission of that is to help members and former members of the 75th Ranger Regiment transition, whether that's while they're in transitioning or they got out 10 years ago and they need some kind of assistance. And then, of course, help out our Gold Star family. So about 2 years ago, we changed the mission to that. That coincided with the Ranger Regiment was standing up its Ranger for Life program, which, a lot of people had a hand in that. And the Ranger for Life program was, the concept was sort of put together by Tony Main when he was the S5 there at Regiment, but it also really came from Sergeant Major Mike Albaugh and Sergeant Major Craig Bishop when I became the honorary Sergeant Major of the regiment. I said, this is what we're thinking in this Ranger for Life program, and we think that if we do a better job of taking care of Rangers while they're in, it's a perfect business model. I mean, you show people you care. You show people you put time and effort into their development. They're probably going to, the right kind of people that you want to stick around, they're going to stick around. So that's sort of how the Ranger for Life program started. And it's based on, it's a Ranger thing. So it's based on, the big five of transition. And on that Ranger for Life program, the regiment built this phalanx program, which has three pillars, and that's professional development. It's a model for members of the Ranger Regiment of how you professionally develop yourself if you want to get into certain positions. Inside the Army model, just more specifics. It's a physical and behavioral health program where you just can't. You invest all this time and money in Rangers, and they get broke. And Marty, as you remember, I mean, you went on a 90-day profile, boom, you're gone. We didn't have time to get your, so now it's different. Now it's, you got a problem. Let's get that thing fixed. So we can keep you around. And of course, behavioral health has become, huge. And so they've invested a tremendous amount of assets and physical and mental well-being. And then the third pillar is education. And they've actually, they've hired education counselors put down at every Ranger battalion, which is unique in the Army. Instead of just going to, the education center on post, there's education counselors right there. And, the Army's always said education is important. So they'd say, you need to get your education. You want to get promoted. And you go, okay. And they'd say, well, if you want to get promoted to Sergeant First Class, you got to have your 3 years of squad leader time. Well, wait a minute. I can't go to college and get my 3 years of squad leader time, or I'll be 100 years old before I get all that done.
Right.
Absolutely. So, as you put those three pillars together, the regiment's saying, not only will you, not only do we encourage you, you're going to get your education. And oh, by the way, if you don't make any progress, you're not going to be be a leader in this organization. And we're going to give you the time and assets to do that and to do your leadership time. So that's the phalanx program. And so we try to catch Rangers when they're about 18 months of ETSing to start talking to them. It doesn't mean they've made the decision to get out. But of course, everybody gets out eventually. So we start talking to them, and we do a little process, and it really starts with Tony Main and Gallant Few Rangers. Gallant Few was started, I think, around 2010 by Carl Monger, and the Ranger organization not split off, but became a separate, an integral part of that a little bit later. But they talk to them, and they do a short survey. It literally takes less than 5 minutes. It hits at the big five of transition of networking, VA, physical, mental health, education. It hits on all those big five, and ask some questions, and then they go through an interview with usually with Tony, and then we get them hooked up with the assets that they need to look at their VA, to open up a network, to look at their education, and to set them on a path, and just to give them information to say, here's what's available for you. Here's the things that you can do while you're still in the Army to set you up for success. You just don't ETS one day and become an FBI agent. You just don't ETS from 1st Ranger Battalion and walk into Harvard. You got to do prep to do that. And a lot of that, in many cases, it's a little bit about what you know, but it's a whole lot about who you know too. People that can tell you, that have walked that path, and can tell you, this is what you got to do if you want to get into the FBI, because not everybody gets in the FBI. This is what you got to do to get into Harvard, because not everybody gets into Harvard. But this is the way you've got to do that, and to set yourself up if that's what you really want to do. And at the same time, telling them, that they want to get out and they want to do this or that. So we'll link them up with guys that have done this or that, and they go, this is what you think it is. Well, let me tell you, bud, this is what it is. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm going to help you do that. But this is what it really is. This isn't what you think it is in many cases. So at the end of the day, a guy will be able to make a decision based, be able to make an informed decision, and sometimes that means staying in the Army. Sometimes that means leaving the Ranger Regiment and going to another organization. Sometimes it means getting out, but, we continually find that, that the feedback we get is, this an organization that really takes care of their people. You're going to retain the right kind of people, and people that have made up their minds are going to get out anyways. But other people look at you and they say, wow, we knew that guy was getting out and they helped him anyways. This is a pretty good organization. Maybe I'll stick around. And so, that's in a nutshell, how Gallant Few Rangers and Three Rangers Foundation, support that, because, we, the Ranger Regiment can't say, here's all the jobs out there. They can't do that. DOD regulations say they can't do that. So Gallant Few Rangers and Three Rangers, we contact those organizations, and we get the word out, and we work with the guys. And there's nothing to join. It doesn't cost you anything. It is as you know, it's Rangers helping Rangers, and there's quite a few people out there that are willing to do that, and they just want to help because the Ranger Regiment would shape them. It's definitely the foundation of who they are, and I've not found one former Ranger, whether he served 3 months or 25 years, that has said, no, I don't want to do that. Everybody wants to try to give back, and to give back as much time as they have, and it's going to set these guys up for success, because at the end of the day, the Ranger Regiment will exist or not exist because of what people say about it and how they were treated when they were there, not whether they went on this mission or that mission. It's, it's based on, how they were treated as they were there. So, the Ranger for Life program is a retention program.
Oh, absolutely.
Really, I think, James, you asked about, what do you tell people coming today, and, about being in service, we think you got to treat people, the Army's all involved, and I think that's how you treat people. And that sometimes that means is help is what people just want. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. I want to hold the words, but I can give you plenty of examples where, by helping people, we're able to keep some other people that really don't want to keep. So, yeah.
I think the Wi-Fi went a little crazy on us on that one. Or was it just mine, Marty?
I think Sergeant Major was breaking up a little bit on that.
Okay.
Of course, I broke up. Oh, no, I'm gone.
Oh,
I think you're gone.
but
No, I'm back.
but no, I think as we wait for Sergeant Major to come back, I think what he was talking is huge, and it really is. It's showing again the investment into people, and if you can, if corporate America or the organizations can create a program like this, it is huge, and it's something that we can all learn from, because you're investing in people. And I think I don't know if it was Amazon or Apple that was saying, what if we provide all this education into our employees and they leave? And the response was, what if we don't and they stay? And then, so there he is. So then we were just talking about, I think it was Amazon or Apple that says, what if we provide this education to our employees and they leave? And the retort was, what if we don't and they stay? So it's investing in people. And then you look at the retention program, it's an investment program, if you will. And
well, that investment even started in the military, because I used to love it when someone would say, hey, I just left regiment. I'd be like, thank you, come here, because I already knew there was a certain set of standards, certain things, especially in the field. I know we're probably going to be pretty squared away. So, I mean, there was a legacy that you leave, just you don't stay there. You establish a legacy by spreading it out. Even when you retire, you're still establishing that legacy, still living that same creed that you lived all those years. So, I mean, it doesn't stop, service doesn't end with a contract.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that was, when Sergeant Major asked, hey, are you interested? I was like, absolutely. James, he was
in the front line rest position and parade rest at the same time, jumping for joy, skipping. I'm telling you,
he called. I may or may not have looked for a 2-quart. I'm not sure, but it's a great program. And, with you and 3 Rangers and Gallant Few, we've got Carl Monger coming on the 22nd of September, and he's going to talk about what he's doing. It's amazing. And we mentioned we got Mike Quinn coming on with Higher Military. These missions are valuable because James and I routinely discuss about the transition process is vital, but the transformation is huge. And the discussions, I think that you're providing with mentors as you link them up, you're linking them up with people. That's part of that transformation. That's what gets to that progression, that evolution, as they go through going, oh, Nikes, I didn't think about X, Y, and Z. Maybe my ducks aren't in a row. Maybe I need to go back and figure this out. Or maybe I do stay in regiment. Or maybe, like you said, maybe I do go to another unit to get my ducks in a row. Because transition is easy. I think transition is if this and this, then this. Transformation is difficult. That's an evolution. That's that progression. That's a headspace and time, and make sure you're straight.
I mean, just the easy stuff as far as easy for me, but just in, for example, the VA disability help that you all provide. I don't think a lot of people understand that the folks that are walking those hallways are superheroes in the mind and in body typically. So the same thing, Marty went through that transformation and transition. When he left, he had to accept the fact that he was no longer that physical specimen.
I was no longer Peter Pan, as I tell people. It was hard for me. It was an acceptance. And I tell people, for my wife, it's transactional. We're dual military. And she's like, you need to put in you need to file your packet. I'm like, I know. But for me, it was admitting mentally, I'm broke. I have, and as I tallied it up, like 32 ailments. So it was part of that. And so, it's difficult, but going through a program where you can talk to somebody and just picking up a phone. And that's what I got with James with this was going, dude, yeah, you're broke, but you're not broken. And so, so we definitely appreciate that. You've got a big event coming up. The Moog Mile. What's all that about, Sergeant Major?
Yeah, the Moog Mile, again, it goes back to why 3 Rangers Foundation was founded, and to the founders. And, there are 2 Moog Miles that go on. There's one that's been going on at Fort Benning, a physical event that mostly 3rd Ranger Battalion, participates in to honor the the members of Task Force Ranger, at the Battle of Black Sea on 3 October. And, in order to keep the memory alive and sacrifices that those soldiers made of Task Force Ranger, we run an event once a year. The Fort Benning event, again, is a physical race. Of course, not everybody can get to Fort Benning, so we run the virtual event. So we reach out to people and organizations across the country, and we suggest that they do an event in honor of Task Force Ranger and those events in Mogadishu. And so it didn't have to be, it's not a 5-mile run. It's not a workout. It's not a CrossFit workout. It could be. I mean, we got people that we got some folks in Florida, and they're just a bunch of vets and a bunch of supporters. They sit around at lunchtime, and they're going to drink coffee and have light snacks, and they're going to talk about life in America. And that's their event. It's not necessarily a physical event, but that's what they're going to do. Other people are doing physical events, but it's to keep alive the memory of the sacrifice and what service is all about. So, not everybody can make it to Fort Benning. So we do this virtual event across the nation and across the world. Actually, I mean, we have there's a guy up in Norway that does it every year. He just somehow heard about it, thought it was important, has really never been to America, but he runs this event every year. And I've talked to him by email before, and, trying to figure out what his connection was. Really no connection whatsoever, but, so it's events all over the world, and, the proceeds, do benefit, the work that we're doing in Three Rangers Foundation to help, that helps people transition and helps Gold Star families out, wherever we can. And that's where it goes. But it is about honoring those folks. And that's what the event's really is. It's I get beat up all the time by my marketing director. Is, how are we going to make more money? Well, it's, it's nice that we make money, but it's not about making money. And I hate to call it a fundraiser, because it is about honoring those folks. But of course, you do need resources to do what you want to do. So it's just, the Three Rangers Foundation is a different business model. It's Rangers helping Rangers, and the only our marketer / executive assistant is the only paid member of the organization, and but you need money and resources to pay her, because she does such great work on all the things that have to happen to make the organization effective. We want to do things to help Gold Star families, and that usually takes money also. So it's a great business model. We don't have to concentrate on asking for money and doing fundraisers, but you do need some kind of assets, but it is truly about honoring. And the other event we do a golf tournament in Maryland, and usually in May, and again the focus is really about honoring service, and that is instead of just honoring just the Moog Mile Task Force Ranger guys, that's to honor all our fallen, and so that's what the event is really about, and that's where our emphasis is. And if we make money, that's great, and if we don't, that's fine also, because you just made the awareness out there greater.
Awesome. If you guys are interested in supporting those that are watching, check out the description. We put the Moog Mile and the Three Rangers Foundation. Check it out. Please donate. It's a great cause, and you're supporting America's superheroes out there, the Rangers, better than any other special operations force out there. I'm biased. I'm just kidding. But we've come to that time, Sergeant Major, where we have to ask you the question. You've served and you've sacrificed over 3 decades. You've missed so many holidays and Christmases. So for us, veterans and combat veterans, freedom means something a little bit different. So we ask you, Sergeant Major, what does freedom mean to you?
Yeah, first thing I like to say is, I've never missed a Christmas or an anniversary or a birthday, because as my wife and my family has always put it is, we celebrate birthdays when you're here. We celebrate Christmas when you're here. We celebrate the anniversary when you're here. And I think it's my son that came up with that, quite frankly, he's a wonderful human being, and his mom raised him right. There's no doubt about that. So I've never missed any of those. We celebrate them when we were together. I think freedom means to me, and it's based on my background is, what America allows you to do is to be successful. And America, like every country, has its flaws, and they'll often put obstacles in the way. But, you're going to have the opportunity to climb over that obstacle, go around that obstacle, dig a hole underneath that obstacle, or put your head down and blast, as a battering ram and knock that wall down. So I truly believe, it's, again, looking at my background, that, no matter what obstacles are put out there, you can be successful, if you really put the effort into it. And, sometimes there's a lot of obstacles in the way because of who you are, how you were raised, how much money you have, where you grew up, how you grew up, but at the end of the day, if you really want to accomplish something, you're going to find that person that's going to give you a hand up. And that's, it's a theory of our, part of our business model is we don't offer handouts, we offer hand ups. And, that's what America is. There'll be a hand in there, and sometimes, you see a lot of hands reaching out and you got to make sure you grab the right one. But in America, that's what freedom is you're going to, there's a hand out there, and you just sometimes got to keep looking for it. No matter how many times, you reach for a hand, and instead of grabbing your hand, it slaps you in the face. That's fine. I'm going to reach and I'm going to grab another one. Maybe I'm going to get slapped in the face, but I'm going to keep reaching up. And then pretty soon someone's going to grab me by the wrist and they're going to pull me up and say, here's your opportunities. Now it's up to you to figure out if you're going to take advantage of it. And that's a story of my life. And that's a story of so many other people out there. The opportunities are there. You just got to work hard to get them, no matter where you came from, no matter what your background is. The opportunities are definitely there. So that's what freedom means to me, is the opportunity to do that. And it's a lot of great countries out there, but I don't think any country, provides that the way that America does, even with all our flaws and issues that we've had throughout the years. At the end of the day, if you want to succeed, there's a hand out there that's going to grab you and pull you up. But then once you get up there, it's up to you to figure it out. And, wow. That's what freedom is to me.
Yeah. That is such an awesome answer. I love that. I really do.
That was a good one.
That's a great answer. I appreciate it, Sergeant Major. I appreciate you coming on and being a legend this week in the lounge, and for everything that you've done for me personally, with your teach, coach, and mentoring, and for everything you're doing with our Rangers, even after service. So I thank you for your service, Sergeant Major.
Thank you, and thanks for what you all do. You're doing great things. And again, there's no one organization that can do everything. I mean, we do a lot of things. We say, go see this organization, go see that organization. That's what they do better than us. And so you're one of those organizations making a tremendous impact also. So again, I told you when we started, I envy the energy that you all have to do all the things that you're doing to help other people. You truly understand. You both truly understand service.
I think I heard him say he envies James's coat.
The only thing that Sergeant Major and I both have in common is we were your boss at one time.
Okay, this is true. All right, Sergeant Major, thank you for coming on the show this week, and thanks for coming to the lounge.
All right, thank you.
What an amazing episode, and we'll definitely have to circle wagons with Sergeant Major.
Yeah, so much knowledge and.
We have who do we have next week? Got another Ranger.
Do we? I think
we're talking about Moog Mile. We do. We've got Matt Eversman coming on. That's going to be a hoot.
That's going to be awesome. Maybe we can talk about NC State. I want to make sure he got in. His daughter got in there to NC State. Well,
yeah, it's going to be it's going to be another great episode. And we talked about, we got Carl Mager coming in. We got a bunch of good Rangers coming in. We've got a bunch of great people coming in, but please as we talked about, go out, support, register for the Moog Mile. It's a great event. I'm going to be out there. I'll be running in DC with the flag, with my body armor. And I'll be out there. I may or may not be pushing a stroller. I've been pushing a double stroller this week, training for the Army 10 miler. So
come check us out in Charleston. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
All right. Thanks for checking us out.
You've been watching the Lounge with Legend show on E360 TV, countering the narrative that veterans are all broken misfit toys. Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom. Serving in harsh situations, coupled with their training, have forged them into some of the most resilient and capable leaders in the world. And that's where we come in, celebrating the success stories, taking you on a journey of transformation from military to business. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But find us on Facebook at Lounge with Legend or at JTF214. Till next time.